Kids, how are you?
Hello. What's your name? Sam, hello. Oh, good to see you, Tom. That's a good handshake.
For a few minutes this morning, the Prime Minister was king of the kids.
Some of you are quite tall, but I'm still taller than most of them.
And he didn't waste the opportunity, turning on the charm for these voters and consumers of the future.
This is the place where the laws are made to ensure that Australia is a stronger and better, a safer, more prosperous country, so that you, your big smile, have got even bigger things to grin about.
The government hopes its policy to crack down on bad banking behaviour will woo voters in a similar fashion and extinguish the popularity of Labor's Bank Royal Commission.
Morning all.
The Treasurer and Assistant Treasurer announced a $127 million boost for the regulator ASIC to increase its powers and resources, funded mostly by a user pays charge.
The banks will pay an additional $120 million to ensure that we strengthen the cop on the beat for banking in the financial system.
And he delivered a strong warning to the banks if they try to pass on the cost.
I would be furious.
Mr Turnbull today has sold out Australians in favour of the big banks.
The $127 million package makes up for the $120 million the Abbott government cut from the agency in the 2014 budget. $61 million will be used to boost the agency's surveillance operations, $57 million to enable increased enforcement of the entire financial services sector, and $9 million will go to implementing new laws.
This is a good down payment. It effectively puts ASIC back in the position it was in 2 years ago by putting back the $120 million that was taken out over 4 years. But we would say it's not enough because in the last 2 years we've also seen efficiency dividends have chipped away at ASIC.
It's in response to years of scandals involving most of the big banks over dodgy financial investment products and schemes, fleecing millions of dollars and leaving thousands without their life savings.
We don't see what additional value the Royal Commission would bring. We know there are issues that need to be dealt with, but we think they need to be dealt with now. The government's response, which is a very comprehensive response, which we're going to be paying for, is to make sure that those matters are dealt with right now, and we support that.
Jeff Morris blew the whistle on the Commonwealth Bank's financial planning arm in 2008. It took years for the case to come to light, but it also revealed a disturbingly limp response by the regulator ASIC.
ASIC is the reason why we've had all these scandals and why there's all this call for reform and a Royal Commission. So to suggest that the solution is giving more money to ASIC is quite bizarre, frankly.
This was after complaints about this product.
Mr Morris met Bill Shorten today and introduced him to some banking victims.
These people in many cases have lost their homes, they've lost their life savings, they've lost their superannuation, they've pretty much lost their retirement, people working in their retirement years because of what's been done to them. It's caused people to suicide, caused family breakups.
At 7:30 flagged last night, the government wants to set up a one-stop tribunal to review complaints, mediate and, if necessary, penalise the banks and financial institutions that fail to do the right thing. Currently, there are 3 different bodies or ombudsmen that do that job. Some rulings are binding, some aren't, and some consumers aren't covered by any of those authorities. Those agencies would be scrapped and replaced by this one tribunal. It'll be set up after a review due by year's end.
At the moment, it's really hard to work out where to go. If you've got a life insurance complaint, maybe it can go to the Super Complaints Tribunal, maybe it can go to the Financial Ombudsman Service, who would know? And there are also many people who've simply not been compensated.
The government's trying to blunt the opposition's demand for a Royal Commission with a challenge to compare its record in office.
Let's not forget, the Leader of the Opposition, Bill Shorten, he was Assistant Treasurer. During this time that he was Assistant Treasurer, what did he do about these issues? He did precisely nothing.
If you're trying to work out whether Scott Morrison's fair dinkum, just ask one simple question. Would Scott Morrison have made today's announcements if it wasn't for Labor's promise to have a Royal Commission into the banks? The answer is no.